Okay, now we have some probability and expected value. Okay, so we have a varsity football team has 43 players. The total, when I add up everything, is 43. 28 players are seniors, so I know this total has to be 28. 12 are juniors, and then 3 are sophomores. So if I add up all those numbers, it adds up to 43. Then 10 of the seniors play both. Whoops, 10 of these seniors. I put this one in the wrong spot. 10 of the seniors, if I make this one sophomores and this one seniors, 10 of the seniors play both ways, which means 18 don't. The juniors, 6 of them can play either offense or defense, so that means 6 don't. It says all of the sophomores go both ways, so they both play offense and defense. I want to find the probability of selecting a senior, that's all of these, or somebody who plays both offense and defense, that's plus these. So I've got 28 plus 9 is 37 out of 43. That's how I got D. Okay, for expected value. Well, we have 120 degrees right here. The fraction of the circle we have is 120 over 360. That reduced to 12 over 36, which is 1/3. So 1/3 of the time I should get a 6. 90 is this one. That's 1/4 of a circle. So 1/4 of the time I'll get this one. Now, if I do 90 plus 120, that's 210. Subtract that from 360. This angle is 150. 150 over 360, that's 15 over 36. That reduces to 5/12. So my expected value, 5/12 of the time, I'll get 24. 1/3 of the time, I'll get 6. And then 1/4 of the time, I get 8. So 24 divided by 12, that equals 2 times 5 is 10. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 8 divided by 4 is 2. I end up with 14. Okay, then we have a club is selling box chocolates. Small boxes go for 12. Large boxes go for 20. 80% of the sales were large boxes. So that means 80% were large. They get to keep half of all their sales. I want to know how much money should they expect to make per box. Well, I could do it a couple different ways. I could figure out what they make total money and then divide it by 2. Or divide these by 2 to start. So they're making $6 a box for the small ones, and they're selling 20%. They're making $10 per box on the large boxes, and that's 80%. Then add them together. So 6 times 0.2, that's 1.2. 10 times 0.8, that is 8. 8 plus 1.2 is 9.2. So they make $9.20 per box. Okay, so that's your next break. Okay, for the next part of the problems, we have systems of equations. So what we're going to try to do is we want to go over and see about eliminating, or you could actually even solve for y if you wanted to, but I think the easiest way of doing this particular problem would be multiplying by 2, because that will give me 8x minus 2y, negative 46. I add these two together, I get 11x. 2y and negative 2y cancel out. Negative 9 and negative 46. X equals, we got negative 55. Divide by 11, you get x equals negative 5. So that's one of my answers. To find the other answer, I plug in negative 5 into either one of these equations. So 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Add that to negative 9. I get 6 divided by 2, and I get 3. Okay, the main part of this section actually is on parabolas. Okay, so x-intercepts. To find the x-intercepts, I've got a factor. So this one factors to x plus 2 times x minus 3. We got x equals negative 2, x equals 3. So my intercepts are at negative 2, 0, and at 3, 0. For a parabola to open downward, the square needs to be negative. This one opens up, this one opens down, this one opens up, only touches one spot in the parabola. This one, when I square a negative, becomes positive, so it still opens up. That negative causes this to open down. So if I multiply this out, I'd get a negative x squared. Okay, so now I want to figure out which could be the equation of a parabola. When I look at my intercepts, this one happened at negative 2, so that's at negative 2. This one right here is at negative 6. So those are like solutions to my equation. So that means I have x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 6. That means I would have had x plus 2 equals 0 and x plus 6 equals 0. So my factors are x plus 2 times x plus 6. If I multiply this out, I'll get x squared plus 2x plus 6x, 8x. 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, that's our next stopping point. So you're going to do the problems on parabolas, and then we'll look at trig stuff. Okay, on this one, right here, first thing you want to do, if I have one of the angles, I can figure out the other. So I know that 23 is this angle. This angle has to be 67 because the sum of the angles in a triangle. We want to know what we use to solve for y. It says all equations. Anytime you see the word all, look for two answers. It could be only one, it could be three, but almost always it's two answers. So that's kind of your hint. Look for two answers. Okay, well right here we have opposite and hypotenuse. So if I did sine of 23 is equal to 5 over y, that's one of them. This side, if I look at the 67, the 5 is adjacent and the hypotenuse. So it's cosine of 67 equals 5 over y. That would be my other equation. Tangent, I would need to have opposite and adjacent this side, or opposite and adjacent that side. Okay. This one's about finding angles. When you have to find an angle, you got to use the inverse. So I look at what I have. This is the angle I've got. I've got the adjacent side and the opposite side. This side's a hypotenuse, so it's not a bad idea to label where the hypotenuse is. Opposite, adjacent. So that means tangent of A is equal to 10/3. To solve this, I got to do inverse tangent. So I do tangent inverse of 10/3. That answer was C. For this triangle, this one's a little harder. It takes a little more thinking. Tangent of theta is 3/4. So I put a triangle here so you can kind of build it. So that means opposite side is 3, adjacent side is 4. Then I could do 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to c squared. And you should recognize that's kind of a special triangle. It's called 3, 4, 5 triangle. It's a Pythagorean triple. So I got 9 plus 16 equals c squared. C squared equals 25. This side is 5. Okay, so if I use my other ones that I can have, if I want to use sine, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of theta is opposite, which is 3 over 5. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's 4 over 5. So that A and D. Using Pythagorean theorem again, we have the two sides that are connected with the right angle are going to be one side of my equation. This one's on the other side. So it's x squared plus 6 squared equals x plus 3 squared. So I have x squared plus 6 squared equals x plus 3 squared. When I square this, I get x squared. Then multiply these two together and double it. 6x. 3 times 3 is 9. Now remember, if you have trouble with this, you can FOIL it out. It's x squared plus 3x plus plus 3x, and 3 times 3 is 9. So that's where the error usually occurs for most students. Subtract x squared from both sides. I get 36 equals 6x plus 9. Subtract 9, divide by 6, you get 27 over 6, which equals 9 halves, which is 4.5. Okay, then we have our special triangles. That's what the last two are on. Special triangles are our 30, 60, 90s and 45, 45, 90s. So for a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the pattern went n root 3, and 2n. This is opposite the 90. So 2n equals 6. So n equals 3. So opposite the 30 is 3. Opposite the 60 is 3 root 3. Opposite the 90 was 6, which was given. So my other two sides were 3 and 3 root 3. For this last one, we're going to have to use a combination of things. 45, 45, 90. The pattern is n root 2. Well, I have opposite 90 is 10 root 2. So for this small triangle here, these two sides are 10. So this side's 10, that side's 10. Now I'm going to look at this triangle so I can figure out what x is. So again, 30, 60, 90. Opposite of 30 is n. Opposite 60 is n root 3. Opposite 90 is 2n. So opposite 30 was 10. Opposite 60 then is 10 root 3. Opposite 90 is going to be 20. Well, if this angle here is 30, this angle up here must be 60. So x equals 10 root 3. So the answer there would have been A. Okay, we have one last problem to work through, and that finishes off the review.